welcome to a new episode of the Woollentwine Fibre Studio knitting podcast. My name is Jule and I am the dyer and maker behind Woollentwine Fibre Studio, which is a small creative space located here in northern Germany where I play with natural dyes and natural yarns. It's been a while again and I'm happy to be back at podcasting, or rather previewing today, because today is another yarn preview video where I'm showing you what's going to be available in the next shop update. There were some weeks passing since I've last podcasted, and I really feel like I'm a bit out of my rhythm, so excuse me when I'm a bit weird sometimes, or if I seem a bit rusted or whatever. So but today is an exceptionally gloomy day. The season has started and podcasting and yarn previewing is going to be a lot harder from now on, because with the natural light and everything it's a bit tricky when it's just very rainy and gloomy and you're trying to show yarn in natural light and there pretty much is none. So I hope everything's gonna be easy to see for you and that you can find or see the colorways well. And without further ado, let me do a little intro section. Okay, after this rambly little intro chat, let me tell you how this is going to work, this little preview thing. So I'm going to show you all the colorways and give you a little recap of all the yarn bases. And at the end I'm going to sum everything up and tell you all the hard facts all around the update and everything. So the update is going to be next Friday on September 16th at 8 p.m. GMT +2 as always. And for this update I was really inspired by autumnal and fall colors, which you will see in a bit. I took August off of updates because I wanted to kind of reorganize, rethink and reset before the knitting season would start again. And I think this really did me well. I was pretty busy with other things going on, but I was able to reset a bit, and from constantly dyeing and not having really time to plan a whole collection, I went into full planning mode and created a little palette that was clearly inspired by autumn. Most of the colorway planning happened during the time when we had a crazy heat wave over here in Europe. And I was really sick of all those like 28, 30, even 38 degree temperatures, and that really translated into this collection, I feel. I was really craving crisp autumn mornings where I could go out with a sweater on and just feel overall a little bit better, because I'm definitely not a summer person and I'm really not good at bearing with heat and everything. So without further ado, let me show you our little fall-inspired collection for the September update. I'm also going to put little timestamps below so you can jump from base to base and see the colorways more in depth again. And as always, feel free to message me on Instagram or email me if you have any further questions for the colorways or combinations or whatever. But I'm also going to chat about that at the end of the video again. So let me now show you the colorways. Okay, first of all, I'm going to show you the colorways that will be available on our BFR Masham bases. And yes, some of you were asking, we're bringing back our BFR Masham DK base as well as our BFR Masham 4-ply base. The DK had a little break over the summer months, or let's say over the July-August time, because I felt like that was more a time for lighter yarns and not so much for heavy DK yarns in the middle of the summer. But now for the first update in the fall, I'm going to have loads of BFM Masham DK dyed again as well, and as with my previous previews, I'm going to show you the colorways on one base, and they will be available on both BFM Masham bases. But just so we can save a little bit of time. Our BFM Masham bases are blends of 75% BFL, so blue-faced Leicester, and 25% mid-brown Masham sheep, which results in a slightly heathered grey yarn. That is of course non-superwash and plastic-free and ethically sourced, as all of my yarns are. And this is a 2-ply yarn with a slightly looser twist, so it's very suitable for garments and accessories alike. It has a beautiful drape, and it's very warm due to the light fluff that the Masham hair gives. At the same time, it's also a very soft yarn, in my opinion, although I have to put a little disclaimer out. This is always a very individual question. I receive the question of which of my yarns is the softest a lot of times, and I never answer this one completely, because yeah, for me this is a very individual thing, and I personally, I'm not very sensitive around my neck or anywhere, so I could wear probably a lot more rustic yarns than other people could, so it's always very difficult to say if a yarn is soft or not, because it just depends on how you experience the feeling of the yarn. So I would say it's a lovely soft yarn, but yeah, don't quote me on that, because yeah, it's a very individual thing. But yeah, BFM Masham is available in the 4-ply weight, which is a 400 meter per 100 grams, and in a DK weight that is 240 meters per 100 grams, so pretty standard fingering and DK weights. And we have quite a few colorways, so let me stop rambling now and show you the colorways. Okay, on the BFM Masham basis, we have quite a couple of new colorways and also some old favorites. And I'm going to start out with the old favorites that you might already know, and then move over to the new colorways. And the first colorway I want to show you is one that was very popular in the last update, actually, even though it was at the end of July in the middle of a heat wave. But yeah, this is the colorway Oxalis, and it's a deep berry red that appears slightly less purpley on camera than it is in real life, I feel. But it was inspired by our little purple oxalis plant. That's our little studio buddy that lives here. And last update it was really popular, so we tried to make a larger amount of this colorway for now. So there should be double the amount from the last update. So I hope everyone can get some of this. Then the next restock that we're going to have is our colorway Sand, and this one is just a very light neutral beige that goes with pretty much everything, so the perfect color work companion, I would say. And I recently saw a post on Instagram where someone has combined this one with the Knitting for Olive silk mohair in the colorway Oat. And that was beautiful. I really, ever since I saw that one, I unfortunately don't know the Instagram handle of that person anymore, but I remember I really loved that color or that combination, and I really want to make a sweater in that yarn combination ever since, so might have to do that very soon. So this one is Sand, and I have a feeling we're getting pretty dark over here. Let me adjust this a little, maybe. Yeah, so that was Sand, and next up we have another restock of our colorway Fawn, and this one is an orangey brown, so a pretty warm toned, very autumnal color, I feel. So this one is fawn. And next up we have fawn's kind of older sibling, that's maple leaf. And this one is just slightly darker and more saturated than fawn. So it's a bit more on the orange side than fawn. Maybe I can show you the two next to each other. Here you go. So this one is maple leaf and the lighter one is fawn. And I feel like maple leaf is a colorway that really screams autumn to me, so I'm really happy to restock it for September again. So yes, next up we have our colorway raspberry. This one was a favorite a couple of updates back when we still had our summer updates. It was more of a summer color, but I feel like it's equally suitable for fall as well. And yeah, it's just pretty much like a dusty pink. And this one also has a slightly lighter companion that is called rose quartz. And this is just a lighter version of the raspberry. Also very warm toned pink. Let me show them next to each other. Yeah, it's just a warm toned pink that's very wearable, I feel. So yeah, raspberry and rose quartz. And then I think that is it with the older colorways. Oh, I have to show you for a second. This color combo is really pretty, I feel. It's oxalis, raspberry and rose quartz. By the way, I've been asked a couple of times by some followers if it's possible to purchase skeins of the same colorway if you have already knitted with them and then get the next, like you needed more yarn of it. If it's possible to purchase them and if you would see the difference. And I would say definitely yes. Especially with this time, I had a feeling that the dyeing, there's always a bit of a difference, you know, and I've changed a couple of things around because I'm experimenting with a new mordanting process that's even less energy efficient, energy requiring than my current process. And so with this new mordanting method, the colorways do turn out a little bit different. For example, I feel like rose quartz is quite a bit warmer than it used to be. So yeah, just in case you were owning some skeins of the colorways already, it's always tricky to purchase additional ones, which is also why I always recommend to lay out the project you want to knit in the yarn and then purchase the right amount right away, because it's kind of tricky between dye lots to make the colorways similar. Like similar, they are always similar, but they are never the same. I think if you would purchase one of those rose quartz skeins and knit it with one from the older batches, I think it would be pretty off. So just so you know. But that's how it is with natural dyes, you know. It's a natural product, and yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do with natural products. It's never repeatable in a way that it would be with synthetic dyes or whatever. So next up, I think we're already at the new colorways. Yes, we are. Let's start with kind of a semi-new colorway, because we used to stock a very similar colorway, and that's why I'm just reusing the name of that one. But ever since a batch of dye ran out and I couldn't purchase it anymore, I wasn't able to dye that one anymore, so I revisited the recipe and found a new way to dye this kind of colorway. So it's like a new version of it, but I would say it's a new colorway because it was dyed in a completely different way. And this is Eucalyptus. It's a very light and warm kind of green with a yellow undertone, so definitely a warm toned green. But I think it's really pretty, and it's also a color that it's very easy to combine, I think. So yeah, this is the new colorway Eucalyptus, if it wants to focus. Yes, here we go. And I think Eucalyptus is exceptionally pretty with rose quartz together. I really like this color combination. Not sure what I would do with it, but I'm kind of getting a shawl vibe over here. So if you would get this color combo on like the 4-ply base and maybe make a shawl out of it, I think it could be very nice. But without further rambles, let me show you another new colorway, and this is one that I exceptionally like. And this one is Golden Hour. And it's also very, very fall inspired, I would say. Just a very golden brass colorway. It has a slight bit of variegation on camera, which I don't see in the skein so much, but yeah, it shifts a little bit in the light from like a golden tone to a bit more of a brassy shade. And I think it's just very beautiful. Reminds me of autumn leaves, and I already can dream up so many combinations looking at the skeins over here. But I'm going to show some a little bit later. The next new colorway on the BFM Masham basis is this one. This is called Powder, and it's a super light, cool toned pink that's dyed on the grey base of the BFM Masham, which is why it ends up being very greyish in undertone. It's like a slight glossing of pink on the grey base, which is also why it's called Powder. It's also one of the colorways that I think would go very well with a lot of other ones in a color work maybe. So the next one is something that I also really like, because I've been wanting to dye a red for a very long time, and even though I felt like it's not the festive season yet, so how appropriate would a red yarn be, I was trying to aim for an autumnal kind of sweater weather flannel inspired red, and this is what came out of it. This is Cranberry. And it's just it looks very, very punchy on camera. Let me see if I can change the light a little bit, just so we can maybe have it a little bit more accurate, because I feel like the darkness of the weather is really making it quite punchy, but it's more, how do you say, it's more muted in real life, I would say, than it is here on camera. And I will see if I can combine it with other colors that would help the camera pick up the mutedness a bit better. For me right now it looks a bit too bright. In real life it's a bit more muted. But speaking of muted colors, this is a new one as well. And if you think I wasn't done with more berry toned colorways, you were wrong, because I have a new one over here. And this one is called Cassis, just like we call black currants here in Germany sometimes. And I think it's also a liquor that's called Cassis, like a black currant liquor. But yeah, this is Cassis. And I think it also goes very well with these two colorways. Wow, it looks really punchy in the camera. Maybe if I go back It's a bit tricky because I feel like the red is really picking up way brighter than it is in real life, but I'll try to adjust that in a little bit. Maybe I should just film a clip and then I can adjust the color as it is, because I have a feeling it will turn out much brighter on camera. But yeah, so far these are the colors, and I totally love all these different combinations you can make with these shades. Can you see that I was inspired by autumn? I can definitely see it. But we also have a couple of fresher, lighter shades, but with these I feel like they really scream autumn. Okay, onto Corriedale sock. Just a quick recap. It's 100% Corriedale fiber yarn, spun to a 400 meters per 100 gram weight with a slightly higher twist, so it's suitable for socks despite being a fully woolen yarn without any artificial additives. This one is a white yarn, so even though I've dyed a couple of colorways on this base that I've also showed you on the BFM Masham base before, they might turn out a little bit different because of the undertone of the base. But yeah, I've tried to also recreate the kind of autumnal palette on this yarn base. And also tried to bring in a couple of new colorways. So first of all, let me show you the restocks, which there aren't many because I mainly dyed new colorways on the Corriedale. But there's definitely one restock of this colorway that is called Periwinkle. And it's just a very beautiful purple with a slightly grey undertone. So this is Periwinkle. And then I wanted to show you another color that's also a restock, and this one is called Oat. And I always like to have this one in the shop because even though it looks kind of very neutral and might not be the most exciting colorway when you look at it, it's great for combinations. And I know I've been asked a lot for multicolor combinations lately, and I know some of you like to just throw a neutral in to have it combined with other more punchy colors, and I think Oat is one of the perfect colorways for these kind of projects because it's very neutral and it doesn't have any kind of too strong of an undertone, and so I think it would go with pretty much everything. So yeah, Periwinkle and Oat. And then we have some kind of a restock, I would say, because this colorway has been introduced in the last update, but we didn't have it on Corriedale sock yet. So this is Oxalis on Corriedale sock. And again, I think we're having a slight issue with the camera making the colorway too red and too bright. I feel we have a little issue with the camera picking up reds. But in real life, this is more berry toned. I might try and adjust the shade a little bit in the editing process, which I normally don't do, by the way. Only when I realize that the camera is really not able to pick up the shade. I don't know if it's easier if I hold it back here. But it definitely is more of a deep berry red than a punchy red. Just as it was with the cranberry colorway on the BFM Masham that looks a lot brighter. But yeah, this was kind of the last restock colorway. And speaking of cranberry, we also dyed this one on the Corriedale. And this one is actually a lot more, I would say it's a lot more, yeah, muted again, but a bit more orange in undertone than it is on the BFM Masham. Let me show the two next to each other, because here you can see what the yarn base, how the yarn base is affecting the colorway. So this one is the BFM Masham, so a grey base, and this one is the Corriedale, it's a white base. So yes, this is the cranberry colorway, and next up we made another autumnal colorway, and I'm especially happy with how this looks on Corriedale sock, because this is golden hour, and I feel it's the perfect, come on, focus camera, it's the perfect brass mustard green, and I'm really happy with how this turned out, because I don't know if any fellow natural dyers are watching this, but achieving a dark mustardy green on a white base is quite a challenge, even though the most locally available or forageable plants are making a yellow, so yellow is very easy to achieve with natural dyes, but getting like a saturated mustardy deep color is actually quite tricky, and it's taken me a while to achieve this, and I'm super happy with the result. I actually ended up layering 3 different colors to achieve this, but it was way worth all the work. So yeah, this is golden hour. I think it's a bit more accurate, and when I hold it back here, I should maybe hold the skeins all back here. But yeah, this is golden hour, and I think these 3 look so good together. So this is oxalis, cranberry, and golden hour. Again, less bright in real life. So yes, those are the very autumnal colorways. Now we have one that's a one-of-a-kind colorway, so I'm not going to really be able to recreate it. I might, but not 100%, so we just call this one of a kind. Am I getting really bright again? Let me check if I can. No. So this one is the one-of-a-kind colorway, and it's just a pretty lovely peach that I also think would go very well with all the other autumnal colorways. Let me maybe try to hold them all up here. Yeah, definitely a nice combo, I feel. Is it visible? So yeah, that was the one-of-a-kind colorway. Next up we're going over to the slightly more muted colorways, or well, this one is not too muted, but less autumnal, let's say. This one is a new one. It's a variegated pink with just some peachy undertones and everything. And this one is called Grapefruit. And next up we have another new colorway that I really love. And this one is called Dusty Rose. And it's just a very mauvey, dusty rose colorway. And then I think we are down to the last colorway on the Corriedale sock, and this is Nebula. I'm not sure if the camera is picking this up right, but it's like a purpley kind of grey with a lot of, I don't know, it has a certain sheen, I feel, that I really like. So yeah, this is Nebula. And I think these three also look really cute together. Or even if you wanted it less punchy, you could also, as mentioned, throw in a neutral that I just dropped on the floor and use Oat with the Dusty Rose Nebula and Oat. So yes, I guess, oh wow, this is going really downhill here with our lighting situation. But these were all the colorways on the Corriedale sock. Okay, so the next section is one that makes me especially excited, even though I'm already excited about all the new colorways, but because we're introducing a new base. Some of you might have seen it on Instagram already, but we're going to introduce a new yarn base to you that some of you might feel familiar with, because a while ago, if you've been sticking around for that long, we used to have a woolen spun, locally produced yarn that was called Rustic Merino worsted, and it was a worsted weight woolen spun yarn that we had available in some natural sheepy shades. And for this beginning of autumn and such, I was really craving some woolen spun yarn that would be slightly more lightweight, just so you could make some jumpers out of it that would be more autumn appropriate and not just for the middle of winter. And yeah, so we decided to introduce Rustic Merino DK to you, which is pretty much the younger sibling of Rustic Merino worsted, or let's say the lighter sibling. And we're going to have that yarn available in 4 different shades, all natural sheepy shades, and I'm going to show them to you in a bit. But let me tell you a little bit more of the backstory of this yarn. Because some of you were thinking I might introduce a new limited edition in this shop update. My limited editions are normally yarns that I produce in collaboration with local shepherds, and I actually visit them. I collect the wool, I sort and skirt the wool, I send it off to a mill and I get it back. And those batches are normally a little bit, yeah, very limited, because I can only get as much as a shepherd or a shepherdess has in one shearing. I actually have a video all in the process if you're curious about that. And also there might be something new coming actually in the near future. But yeah, I'm going to link that video for you if you're curious about my limited editions. However, the Rustic Merino DK is there to stay. I'm able to source this yarn fairly regularly, not always in all kind of shades, because it's also depending on the wool that's available to the mill. But yeah, it's a yarn that will come back kind of regularly. However, I cannot tell you for how many updates in a row I will have this. So I'm just planning on having it now and then, and I'm not having it like in every update, but I might, you know, whenever I feel like having a colorwork suitable yarn in the shop, I might just restock whenever I feel like it's suitable. And the Rustic Merino DK is produced by a mill here in Germany. We don't have a lot of mills left here in Germany, so I'm very happy to work with this family-run, very traditional mill. And they are sourcing all the wool for this yarn within a very small area around where they're located. So it has very little transportation in that case. And I'm very happy to have this yarn because I feel like it's truly special, and it really is very different from my other yarns. Because I don't know how familiar you are with different spinning techniques. If you're not a spinner, this might not be something you're familiar with, but there's a difference between worsted spun yarns and woolen spun yarns. And woolen spun yarns generally tend to be more airy because the fibers have not been combed into one direction and then spun, but they've been rather carded, so it's not all in one direction. There might be a few fibers going crisscrossy everywhere. Hence the more air is trapped between those fibers. So a woolen spun yarn, which is what the Rustic Merino DK is, will always result in a more airy, voluminous and bouncy yarn than a worsted spun yarn would be. And so I was really lacking this kind of lightweight, airy, woolen spun goodness over the last couple of months, and so I'm very happy to bring this yarn to you. So without further ado, let me show you the 4 colorways that we'll have in this update. Whoops, if I can hold them all up. Let me see. But yeah, here we go. This is the Rustic Merino DK. This is how it looks. I think because it has the most contrast, it's very easy to see the structure of the yarn in this skein. Or maybe in this colorway. So yeah, you can see that it's less accentuated than a worsted spun yarn would be, which makes this yarn perfect for colorwork knitting, because when you block these kind of woolen spun yarns, they really bloom in the water, and so it's very nice to knit colorwork projects with them. And I think with this yarn, it's a bit, let me talk about the meterage, because it's a bit unusual. The meterage is actually 285 meters per 100 grams, which would technically fall in the category of sport weight yarns. However, I feel like when I knit it on needle size 3.5 to 4.5 millimeters, which would fall into the DK category more. And I feel like when I was swatching and we were experimenting a couple of things around this base, yeah, it was clearly to see that it's more a DK weight than a sport weight. And that's also because of the fluffiness and the airiness of a woolen spun yarn. Yeah, what else is there to tell? Yeah, 285 meters per 100 grams, which is very nice because you can go quite far with it. And so it's kind of a, yeah, it's very reasonable. How do you say? Not reasonable in price, but you can get quite far with it, so you have to buy less potentially if you're between sizes or whatever. So, and also that's also why I'm having this yarn in an undyed state, because I know that my yarn is not necessarily accessible for everyone, but the prices, I mean, I'm not here to justify the prices right now, but it's very labor intensive to work with natural dyes and dye yarn naturally. So I decided to offer something that's a bit more budget friendly, let's say, by having this yarn in an undyed state, just so I won't have to, yeah, price it up as highly as my dyed yarns. So I hope this is going to be a nice option for those of you who might sometimes feel like it's not very accessible to purchase a sweater quantity of naturally dyed yarn. Okay, I will chat you through what we've been testing this yarn with, because of course before a yarn gets a space in our shop, I like to have it thoroughly tested so I can tell a couple of things about it. And even though I was a bit too busy myself over the summer to knit a lot, I had my mum help me and start knitting up a couple of things in this yarn, just so you could have an idea and that you can have her feedback on it, kind of. I mean, I did knit with this one before, so I know that, like, I have had it in my hands and I've knitted with it as well, but Mom made a beautiful, or started a beautiful sample in this yarn that I'm going to show you now. And I think this one perfectly shows how well this yarn works for color work, because I don't know if you can see, but it almost looks blocked even though it's not. And it will be even more even once you block it. But yeah, this is the Curti sweater by Olan Such of Ted Beige, which you know I love because I always knit a lot of her patterns. If you watch my knitting podcast, you might know. But yeah, this is another beautiful pattern of hers, and yeah, I think it looks beautiful in the new Rustic Merino DK base. Oops. So even though I haven't knit this myself, but had my mom help me, she told me that the pattern is very addictive and nice to knit because, yeah, you know, there are those smaller gaps, and it's not one of those color works where you have to carry the floats very long in the back. So speaking of floats, I know a lot of people like to see floats. Why is that a thing, actually? But I'm going to show you the back of it. And here you can also see how nice and bouncy the yarn and the fabric ends up being. And I have to say, my mom is a very good colorwork knitter, so don't be fooled. She's actually really, really good, and her tension is just super even anyways, but I also feel like this yarn really adds to the evenness of the stitches. So I'm sorry I didn't remember to mute my computer, so now you have to bear with my email sounds. But yeah, this is the Curti pullover or sweater. I'm going to link the pattern down below as always. And this is knitted out of the two most contrasty colorways we have in this yarn base. Which brings me to introducing the colorways to you, finally. So this is the color combination we are using for this sample. And the dark one I decided to call Espresso because it's just a very beautiful dark brown. And then we have the lighter one, which is called Cream. And it looks very blown out when you hold it next to the darker one, but if you hold it next to something lighter, it's just a cream, naturally white yarn that I think is always nice to have in stock, just so you can combine it with the other colorways and maybe make a color work. Speaking of the other colorways, this one is something that some of you might know if you've been following along and might have tried the Rustic Merino worsted, because we used to have this colorway on the Rustic Merino worsted as well. This is Fossil, and it's a very light grey with a warm undertone, and it's just very beautiful. It's the perfect color for when you're like, I want something neutral to just throw over and wear with a lot of colors, but you don't want like a natural white. Then this one I think is the perfect colorway. And last but not least, the fourth colorway is called Pebble, and it's just a pretty nice medium grey. Focus. That I think is also super versatile to wear, and it works very well with black. I don't know if you can see that here, but I think I love the contrast of the Pebble colorway and black. But so, these are the four colorways: Cream, Espresso, Fossil and Pebble. And I would say if you were not, like if you wouldn't like such a stark contrast as we did in the Curti sweater now, which are these two colorways, I think it would also look very nice to combine it with the Fossil colorway. It would probably mute the contrast a tiny little bit and yeah, just have it a bit more muted. But I think for this sample it's nice that we went with the off-white cream colorway, because this way you can really see the stitches very clearly and how they behave in a colorwork yoke. Yes, my mom actually, quite a while ago when we were testing this base at the very beginning, she made a sweater for herself that I don't have with me right now. I should have brought that, but she made a sweater for herself that she used to wear all the time, and it's still lovely and it's very warm, I have to say. I might have borrowed it a few times from her, but yeah, this is one of the yarns that's just really warm, but at the same time, you know, it's still airy enough to not be very heavy and to not make you feel too hot. I don't know if that makes sense, but I tend to overheat quite quickly, and I do really like the airiness of this yarn and how it behaves. Especially after blocking, it gets a lot bouncier and even softer, I would say. Yeah. But that's about the Rustic Merino DK. I'm really happy to have this yarn in the shop because I really enjoy working with that mill. I really love the yarn. It's just more of a really traditional kind of colorwork yarn, which I think is always nice to have and that I always lack in my kind of collection. So I'm really happy to have this one now, and I really hope you will enjoy it as much as I do. If you have any additional questions, feel free to always message me. Oh, I should maybe mention, did I say what fiber is in there? I mean, it says it in the name, but it's merino wool. But it's German merino wool, so a lot of German merinos are not like the same breed of merino that you might know from like Southern American or I don't know, foreign merino wools. It's like a more hardy variety to withstand our slightly rougher weather here, which is also why the wool is a bit more rustic. That's why I call it Rustic Merino, because it's not your kind of Southern American, Australian, super fine, low micron merino. It's more of a hardier version of that, if that makes sense. But yeah, it's definitely still soft, I would say. Again, the softness discussion is something that I always really try to avoid, but it doesn't have a lot of hairs sticking out of it. I don't know if you can see. Come on, camera, focus. So yeah, it doesn't have a lot of staples or longer hairs sticking out of it. So for me, it definitely is a next to skin soft base that I could totally wear as a shawl as well. So it's not prickly at all for me. But yes, I think now that I've also mentioned the fiber content, you can really see that I'm a little bit out of my rhythm with the podcasting. Yeah, I think I've told everything around the yarn, as mentioned. Any further questions, let me know, I'll gladly answer them. But let me jump to the last part of this video by telling you all the hard facts and the admin stuff. As mentioned, the update is going to be on the 16th of September at 8 PM GMT +2, which is when all these yarns that I've just showed you are going to be available in my own shop that I'm also going to link below. And if you're unsure about time zones and everything, you can also sign up for my newsletter, which is going to be going out as a little reminder once the update is live, just so you know when the shop's going to be restocked. And then yeah, the shop update, as always, will take place on a Friday, and I will start shipping orders on the Monday after, or packing rather. So you will have all weekend to purchase yarn from the shop as long as the stock lasts. And I know that with some of these colorways, for example, Oxalis might be going quite quickly. So if you're looking into that, or I don't know, I can never predict which colorways are going to sell well, but I know that some of you are looking for oxalis. Some of the colorways, I mean, they are limited in quantity, and I cannot promise that there will be a lot left if you start looking into the shop on the weekend after the shop update. So I always recommend to be on time if you can, just so we can make sure that you'll get everything you're looking for. And as much as I don't like to say this in every video, but yeah, please be on time, because yeah, I don't want to put pressure on there, but you know, it is how it is. I can only make so much, and if there are more people wanting a certain colorway than I was able to dye it, yeah, it can sometimes be tricky. So I always recommend to be on time, just so we can make sure things are going to be all right. Yeah, then I'll start packing orders on the Monday, so you'll have all weekend to shop. And in case you end up placing more than one order, please email me with your order numbers, and then I can pack them all together and refund the overpaid shipping. But please do email me, because I'm only one person, and with multiple orders coming in after a shop update, it can be really tricky to just see who might have ordered double. So yeah, just please email me with your order numbers. My email is always linked down below, and then I can I'll gladly put them all into one box and then ship it to you. General shipping info is linked down below as well. Please make sure to check out our different shipping rates, because we have an insured and an uninsured version for the shipping. So please just make sure that you know and you're well prepared, so you know what your zone is and how much it might be to ship to your country. And yeah, just please read those shipping infos beforehand. And was there anything else I wanted to mention? Ah yeah, UK people, I know most of you have by now recognized that it's possible again, but I can ship to the UK again without a minimum order amount. So for those of you who are new here, we did have some issues with the new VAT organization ever since Brexit happened. So we weren't able to ship to the UK for a very long time. And then we had a very high order minimum, because it had to do with all the import taxes and stuff. But now it's all gone. You can ship, you can order from the UK again, and I will ship it to you gladly. And I'm really happy to have, to be able to ship to my UK friends again. That makes me very happy. Yes, but I think so far that is it. Oh, one more thing. I will try out something new. I did a little poll on Instagram the other day where I was asking you whether you would find a chat function helpful sometimes. And even though I'm not able to provide a chat function all of the time, because it's just me running this business and there's loads to do, and I'm glad to have my mom to help, but still I couldn't be available to chat all the time. But I was thinking to experiment with maybe putting a chat option out there for the week before a shop update, just in case you need any help with color combinations and such. I will try to be available there and answer questions if there might be any. So yeah, I'm experimenting with this. I have no clue how this might work with my schedule and with my daily work that I have here at the studio, but I'll see if it works and how if it's also helpful for you. If it's not, you know, if there are like 1 or 2 questions coming in, then it might not be worth it to keep it up, but I'll see how this goes. So yeah, I will probably open up the chat function on Monday. So yeah, in case something is there that you would like to ask me, you should also be able to reach me on the chat. Yeah, other channels to reach me is my email, that's hello@woollentwine.com, and also linked below, or you can also just DM me on Instagram. That's also sometimes the quickest solution because I'm on Instagram fairly often. Please don't message me on Ravelry because I just don't check Ravelry. I've had this a couple of times where someone was waiting for an answer from me and I just didn't realize that that person messaged me on Ravelry. So Instagram, email, or the new chat that's on my website might be the easiest way to reach me. And now I'll stop rambling. Thank you so much for watching and for hanging with me while I showed you all the new colorways. I'm excited to see what color combos you might choose. And yeah, thank you so much. Have a lovely weekend with hopefully lots of knitting, and see you soon. Bye!